This.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board meeting for Wednesday, May 17th. It is 6:31. Would the code officer please call roll?
Jenny Anderson, Rodolfo Barrientos, Dale Blayant, Judy Hamelberg, Michael Lalonde, Esquire.
Okay, good evening once again. This is a meeting of the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board. The board is authorized pursuant to Chapter 14 of the Village's Land Development Code to ensure compliance with the village's Code of Ordinances. The members of the board are citizens and residents of the Village of Biscayne Park. We volunteer our time and are not paid for our services. The purpose of each hearing is to give any alleged violators the opportunity to contest the decision of the code compliance officer, which resulted in the issuance of a notice of violation, and to determine whether a violation of the village's code has occurred or is occurring. We are not authorized to dismiss violations based on hardships, ignorance, or the fact that others may be guilty of the same violation. These hearings are conducted in a quasi-judicial manner. Our responsibility is to act much like a judge in a court, and that is to hear cases presented by the village's code compliance officers and to hear contradictory arguments presented by the alleged violators. We are not authorized to change the code. The village commission is solely authorized to enact or revise codes. Conversely, neither the commission nor the village manager have the authority to overrule the findings of the board. Pursuant to Chapter 162 of the Florida statutes, orders of the board can only be appealed to the Circuit Court of Miami-Dade County. We have the authority to assess and to order the payment of civil penalties, to issue orders having the force of law, to command whatever steps are necessary to bring a violation into compliance, and to assess administrative costs. In order to make a finding upholding the code compliance officer's decision, we must find that there is substantial, competent evidence that the named violator was responsible for a violation of the relevant section of the code as charged. All documentary evidence presented by the parties must be submitted for placement in the hearing file. No documentary evidence will be considered unless the alleged violator or code compliance officer submits a copy for the hearing file. Each party shall have the right to call and examine witnesses, to introduce exhibits, to cross-examine opposing witnesses on any other matter, any matter relevant to the issues, even though that matter was not covered in the direct examination, to impeach any witnesses regardless of which party first called them, to testify and to rebut the evidence against them. If you're planning to address the board and you haven't signed in, please do so on the sign-in sheet over there by your name. Anyone wishing to address the board, please stand and raise your right hand, and Raphael will swear you in. John. Any additions, deletions?
None.
Has everyone had the chance to read the minutes?
Yes, and I have a couple questions.
Go for it.
It mainly deals with the first and second of who made motions. And maybe I had circled incorrectly, but I have on 6B that
Reason boy?
B as in boy, 6B as in boy, that Judy had seconded the motion. I may be wrong. I don't know if anybody else. And then
Hang
on,
Bear with me, let me get. Oh, I got it. Oh. I have Judy.
yes, so if we could correct that for 6B to reflect Judy made the motion. No, Judy seconded.
Yeah.
Yes. On 6E, I have that Judy seconded the motion.
I do too. 6E is also Judy?
Yes.
Judy.
On 7B, I have Dale made the motion and Janie seconded the motion.
Everything.
And on
Bear with me, let me write that on my stuff. Okay, that's, I'm sorry,
7B, Dale made the motion and Janie seconded the motion.
That D O B?
B as in boy.
D, thank you.
On 7C, I have Dale made the motion and yes. 7C. Is that,
Dale and Judy.
yes. And those are, with those corrections, I would make a motion to approve.
Amend.
if there-
We've got
Oh,
one more thing, so just a second. Rodolfo's absence was not excused, remember,
Absent.
because we didn't.
oh,
Unfortunately, Rodolfo, we didn't know why, and so in the case where it hasn't been reported to the village clerk and then reported to the board, we have to do an unexcused absence.
Yes, it's fine because I couldn't make even make a phone call.
So
You- I hadn't written that down, but I had thought that's what I remembered and I'm going, well, maybe I was mistaken.
No,
Because it wasn't on my regular agenda. So. Yes. Do y'all have that, Doreen?
Yes.
Okay,
Noted, and we will adjust and bring the minutes back for motion.
yeah, and also I have quite a few, hopefully the board doesn't mind. I guess we would call them Scrivener's errors, some things that should have been present tense, not past tense, some things where caps were used, it should have been just a lot of little
oh,
things.
yeah, I
You
did.
mind- Does anybody,
Yes.
if I pass that on? I believe we are. Are we ready for our first case?
So, yeah.
I'm,
motion on this,
no,
or
I wouldn't
just-
approve them. Let's
Yeah.
have them come back.
Okay.
If that's okay with everybody, I would make a motion to table the minutes until they come back with the corrections. Perfect.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Janie made the motion. Dale seconded to table the minutes until corrections have been made.
When we're ready for the first case?
Our first case, 6B,
B as in boy?
B as in Bravo, 690 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 19-1565. Olivia Almagro, Almagro, sorry.
We should deal with the folks who are here first. Yeah.
We apologize. Six, seven.
No, we do want to make sure everyone who's taken the time to be here doesn't have to wait an inordinate amount of time. So thank you, sir. I apologize.
My apologies, sir. Our first case, 6A, 670 Northeast 119th Street, case number 22-52, Timothy M. Kelly. Our violation is lots and public right-of-way.
This is the comments.
No, I was just waiting for the case.
In this case, Mr. Kelly was issued a notice of violation for overgrowth on the property. Mr. Kelly was issued a notice, a courtesy notice, and then extended time offered to clear up the overgrowth on the property.
Here, I'm sorry, Chen, are you done? Do you have more to present?
Yes.
Because what I'm picking up on, first of all, the courtesy notice is for cleaning and or painting. The notice of violation is for the overgrowth.
My apologies.
I mean, granted, the notice of violation is already 2 months past, but still, it's a concern when a homeowner gets a courtesy notice that says one thing and then a notice of violation that says something completely different. in the documentation we're seeing really only reflects the overgrowth.
That is correct. It was clean and paint the house roof awnings.
That's not what the NOV says.
Yes. Yes, there is a discrepancy there.
Definitely. I'm inclined to table this until we get it.
The courtesy notice was wrong.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The courtesy notice was wrong. I apologize to the board for that. The notice of violation, which was the lots and public rights of way.
Okay. All right, so we are hearing the overgrowth.
That-
Anything to do with painting, the cleaning,
That is correct.
comments from the board.
No, because I see the notice of violation is from March the 14th with the reinspection date of April the 5th. And I believe this was here before us last month, and there was a request to,
It was a date problem.
yeah. That's,
The notice to appear had a date problem.
Have you re-inspected it?
and that was going to be my question.
Okay.
Has it been re-inspected, and what's the status of the,
As for the status, Mr. Timothy was working on clearing up some of the overgrowth on the property. And apparently not all of the overgrowth has been taken care of.
If you're talking about the swale area, all the overgrowth has been taken care of. Have you inspected it recently?
Yes, I have re-inspected the property as of today. As for the swale, there was some flowers that you stated your
I moved
daughter.
those back. You notice that? That I moved the flowers back from the street?
Yes, some of it has been moved from the street. Not all of it completely. The swale area needs to be clear so pedestrians are afforded the right to
Get
move
off
out of the way in
Right.
case of oncoming traffic.
Yeah, I understand that part. But you gave me the impression that they just needed to be able to step off the street, that I didn't have to clear everything. You just had to take it so they could step off the street. Now, are you telling me that everything within 5 feet has to be removed? Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Okay, is there someday you can come out and meet me and show me exactly what, because I've done some removal since the last time. So I'm just curious, if you've seen the new situation.
yes, I have.
Are we sure the ordinance says 5 feet? Because I do not recall the ordinance saying 5 feet. Normally, anything planted unless it's tall, I'm talking little.
3 inches or 6 feet from above.
But we can't really tell exactly what's closer because I don't believe it's 5 feet. Yeah, any of the taller items, like I'm looking at in this one particular picture, that's different. But anything low to the ground, I don't believe the ordinance says 5 feet. If I'm wrong, I apologize.
because you can have some sort of ground cover. It
Right.
can't be very high.
Exactly.
And
Like
30 inches, I was
18
told.
inches.
it was it seems that the resident wants to work and do what can be
Exactly,
done. I would
exactly.
like to make a motion, if everybody's amenable to it, to make a motion to table this until next month.
Absolutely.
Have the resident meet with the code officer to go over what's needed and work with them.
Okay.
And if it's in compliance by next month, dismiss the case.
I'll second that.
So who seconded it?
Oh, Judy, okay, give it. That's fine. Gail and Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Sir, thank you so much for your patience. We're going to table it till next month. The code officers will come by and explain things more visually to you. And thank you for working hard to at least move forward. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You too.
Our next case, 6E.
6E.
Yes, 6E as an echo. That's 826 Northeast, 121st Street. Case number EEN 22-0383. Jan Roots and wife Denise.
Good evening. This is Matt Kramer on behalf of the property owner.
Sir, I need you to speak into the microphone if you have to pick it up.
This is Matt Kramer on behalf of the property owner. I have an unavoidable scheduling conflict right now. May I be moved to the end of the agenda?
Absolutely, that's fine. We can
Okay, and then thank you so much. Thank you.
move into the- One, 12, 10.
Our next case, 6F. That's 1210 Northeast, 121st Street. Case number EEN 20-0238. Oriana Estefany Avaledo.
Done. I think the numbers were not written on the agenda that they were signing in. We apologize for that, sir. We're gonna have to let her go first. Sorry.
We may have to start assigning times.
Did, and,
Absolutely.
right, time,
Sure.
yes, absolutely. And, we'll number it. Who's the lady? Administrative fine, which
We have
is,
to have all the jet.
11803, I believe.
That's 7C.
So, let's see.
Our next case, 7C. That's 10803 Northeast 9th Avenue. Case number EEN 21-0405. Vanessa Holly
Mario and Sharon Kachlan.
Mario and Sharon Achlani.
So this was an administrative citation that was issued in 2021. She's appealing the $25 fine. We had explained to the respondent that administrative citations do not go before the board. But she insisted, and I had to go to the clerk to get permission to come to the board. We came to the consensus that only the board can remove or refuse to remove a fine. We couldn't do it. So this is why she's here.
If you guys remember, all of you who were involved in the board, several months ago, we had the same situation. And because that individual was out of the deadline, we refused to hear the case. My concern is three. I have one, if we were to start now reversing that and hearing cases outside of deadline, what about that property owner who feels targeted or feels that we were somehow biased?
Right.
It basically negates any reason for a deadline. And I also think about the people who maybe at the time they got their citation, they just weren't in a position to take the time to appeal. But if they knew they had 26 months, might have done so. So I am not in favor of
I
hearing.
have proof that I never
Please,
received the
ma'am.
citation.
Please let us
Okay.
talk. I'm not in favor because of all of those issues, particularly that we've already had the same situation.
As staff, we absolutely understand that.
Yes, because I was surprised. That's why I have question marks written all over the front of my page, because I was going, why is this before us?
Right.
Because the administrative citations, there's a specific period and, you know, unfortunately, I'm inclined not to take action, but I certainly would afford the resident or
Judy, Rodolfo?
voice.
I just don't see a reason to open it up at this later date.
If we allow her, the problem, Dale, if we allow her then to present a case that we did not allow the other property owner to do.
Right.
I see your point. I mean, I was just to speak, but I mean, as far as ruling on it, I would not be in favor of removing an administrative citation from 2018. So
It's not.
if that's what you're stating, that's what I'm stating. Or
2021.
2021.
It's still 2 years.
Sample back here I was looking at.
The 2021 is posted
21.
and it's in the summary sheet.
Yes.
It's 2 years.
So my motion would be not to open the case up.
I would second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Am I allowed to at least
Let's
make a
hear it.
comment? Am I allowed to at least make a comment?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Am I allowed to at least make a comment?
How does the board feel?
Sure.
I don't mind hearing
Okay.
a comment, but
Okay.
I had never received the citation for this, and I have the proof that shows that I have never received the citation. And the citation that I finally did receive says that it's from 2001. And when I called and I spoke about it, they told me that it was something for something completely different, that my realtor did not do her due diligence. So that was conflicting information to begin with what the citation was for. I have more than enough proof showing that I had never received the citation, because I even have an email to Mario a month later listing every citation I've ever gotten. And that's not one of them. I also have proof of me going to the office to pay for a permit that was issued a week and a half after that. And if I had received a citation, I would have paid that citation.
They wouldn't necessarily have picked that up, but we've got the posting and the summary sheet.
When I asked her if she could, when I called and I spoke, they said they had 8 photos proving that I had left my garbage on the swale. And when I asked for the proof, all they could give me was a picture of my property with the citation on it. And I said, I can't read that citation. May I please see the original or a copy of it? And she says, I don't have it. You have to trust that that's what it says. I don't think that's very fair to say that that's how this is run. I have to prove my innocence. And
And
like, I think our amendments, like the Constitution says,
again, we're 26 months.
but I had never received the first citation. And I have a list,
And what alerted you?
the mail that I got 2 weeks, like here, right here,
Oh,
this one on
It
April
would have been
14th.
In 2.5, well, 26 months, there would have been more than one.
On April 14th, 2023, I received a letter saying that I have a citation from 2001. At that point, I called and I said, what is this? And they explained to me that my realtor did not do due diligence and that I had a lien on my property. And then we were talking for 10 minutes. And then I said, what is it? I don't know what it is. And then she said, what's the number? I gave her the number. And then she goes, oh, no, that's from 2 years ago for a trash can. So not only was the first citation I ever got with the wrong date, but then I went on to say, okay, send me the proof that I did it. She said, I have 8 photos. When I got the only one photo, the one photo does not show a clear picture of what the citation is. So I said, can I have a picture of the citation? Can I read it?
Also have on the summary sheet that the code officer gave the citation.
Right.
Now, I'm sorry, I wish you had come to us sooner, but
This is literally the first notice of it April 14th, 2023. And that same day I called.
So she spoke with the volunteer in the office. She's been working with us to go through old files so we can get rid of all the old cases that have been redundant. And that's one of the cases that we found. There is truth to what she's saying. We didn't have enough evidence, pictures and whatnot. However, I agree with the board that there's a statute of limitation on when people can appeal these cases, even though we are custodian of records and we are not, we don't know what happened. We were not here. We have the electronic file that says a violation was issued, and we matched the date of the electronic file to the posting that was made on the door. So it was made on the same day, and that's why.
And I think it's critical, A, that we stay consistent in how we rule, and B, that we always look at the potential ramifications. If we go off kilter, what does that do down the line? And I think back to the resident who we did not hear her case. Again, ma'am, I'm sorry.
What's to stop citation from saying now that all of these people don't have citations from like back then and just implementing them into the system? Like I never received it. It would have been something that I listed in the emails that I had received. Like I have literally a list to Mario stating every single citation I had gotten that year.
Thank you.
It was,
More.
you were first
Okay.
and Judy was first. Wait a minute. I had written it.
seconded.
Yes,
You said so. I was first. Okay.
Judy was second.
Have that.
Fred.
Yeah.
Passed 4-0.
Our next case, 7D, as in Delta. That's 11520 Griffin Boulevard. Case number EEN 21-0312. David McDonald Ruin and Maria Isabel Riera.
Did we skip someone? We don't have a, were you next? Oh. Who's next? Go ahead. Presenter? 115. Okay. So this particular case was issued to a previous owner. Did you call the right case? This is David's case. It was the violation was issued to the previous owner. David bought the house. You're gonna help me on that.
10/28/2022.
2022, this violation was issued.
If you would identify yourself. and
Oh,
your
I
relationship to
apologize.
the
My name's
property.
David McDonald Gruen. I own 11520 Griffin Boulevard. And I purchased the house on October 28th of this past year, 2022.
So this violation was issued a year before in 2021. It's for a deck that was built in the back deck and
Remember the
pergola.
case
You remember the
clearly.
case? Okay.
And I apologize. Technically it's for the pergola. The deck
It's for the
is fine.
pergola. The deck is
Pergola
good.
is
Okay.
what the issue was apparently.
Yeah, I remember this case very well because the obvious structural issues in the electric. I'll be honest, my concern right now isn't so much the fine. We'll deal with those.
Right.
My concern is we've got an unpermitted structure that's encroaching in the setback. and appears to have electric running it, none of which has been checked. How do we work? We need to work with this resident to make sure that comes into compliance. And it's unfortunate, just for the record too, he did an incredible amount of due diligence that is so obvious by his email. And it's sad to say, but even with all the due diligence, it's not unheard of, and they're done that, when things slip through. That's why thankfully we have title insurance. So I would think we need to
you-
help
you-
him work out a process of how to get this into compliance.
If I may interject, and I can,
You know, do you have a copy, David? Because it does have.
no,
to say here.
yeah, unfortunately, I only printed one. I can print more, but so I paid for a structural engineer to come out on, he came out on May 3rd, and we actually took apart parts of the pergola and the subdeck structure and everything. And it is attesting to the soundness. The next thing that I have to do is an after the fact permit thing, which then is going to get denied. Then I have to go through the variance process and all that type of stuff. But I have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. So my first and biggest concern was making sure it's okay. But
Sure.
seeing as it has no walls and no sides,
Right.
it doesn't have any wind load. It can't turn into a kite and take out my house or somebody else's house. He looked at it, one of the points that the structural engineer made is that the way that it is and the fact that our Muni code actually doesn't specifically address pergolas, it doesn't filter it under any specific category. He said that it could be very easily open to interpretation as to whether it should be covered as a fence, because the only addressing piece to it is the substructure and the concrete footing, which he examined and has photos and all that type of stuff with. That then could be categorized in either direction, and that's a commission or planning and zoning board discussion. But since I came in and spoke with them and found out about this problem, my first concern was also making sure it didn't fall on my kids. Now I know that doesn't mean that the next person is going to go to that length. So I don't have an answer to your concern overall, but to this specific
The
situation,
other issue.
I tried my hardest.
The other issue, of course, is it's in the setback.
Yeah, so that's why I say what's gonna have to happen is, and I needed that in order to do the after the fact permit application, then it's gonna probably get denied, and then depending on what the planning and zoning board decides to do. And then from there, then there's the variance process. And I'm aware of the fees and everything associated with all of that.
I would like to mention, if you don't mind, that David is on our planning and zoning board. He's a member. So he's very aware of what needs to be done. With that said, I would like to ask the board, because we have a legal issue here. When David bought this house, he had a lien search done 3 times, and we did not catch this as staff. The code violation itself was missed in 3 lien searches. So he bought the house with the idea that
It was done.
there were no problems. Now, as an expert, he looked at that pergola deck, and he could see that there was an issue, but of course, if there was no code violation, there was no need for him to do anything. What I wanted to ask the board was this: since we made the mistake of allowing this to happen, because if he wasn't on the board and he wasn't in planning and zoning, then that situation would have stayed the way it is. And he would have sued the village or done something to protect himself, because we didn't report this. We didn't tell them that there was a problem as a village. What I wanted to ask the village was, acknowledging that there's a problem on this property, can we close and dismiss this case and issue this violation fresh?
Well, that's what I was going to recommend, and to ask that the village work with the resident
Absolutely.
homeowner to bring this into compliance.
But to deal with the old case, which was issued to an old owner, which has run fines.
get into the
I
system.
absolutely.
That's the only
Oh,
reason. So when it
That's,
gets
I,
in the
I
system,
anticipated that, and Doreen was great in explaining that that's a
Doreen, that is-
possibility.
My opinion, that is a spectacular idea. This all goes away. It starts over because yes, you do have to have that to get forward in the process, and that puts you back, David, in front of P and Z again, it puts you through the variance process if you so choose, but it starts from scratch.
If I could ask a question, just because I've never dealt with this before, what's the amount of time that I have to go? Because the variance process takes a little while from a, you have to get denied first, then you have to get it added, then it has to go before.
So
So
we'll,
is there a way to suspend the daily fine process if there's a
That-
new?
no, this will be dismissed. There will be
Oh,
no
okay.
daily fine. We'll issue a brand new violation and we'll give you enough time to come into compliance.
I was trying to
Unless
set-
you don't try, then I'll bring it back to the
Yeah.
board to,
In fact, we get further, let's take care of this case.
If you don't mind me also adding just one other piece. So one very nice thing is my closing attorney is actually my next door neighbor because I've lived in the park since way before that. And he cares deeply about Biscayne Park the way that I do. And he said the last thing that he wanted to do was report it to the lien and title guys, because the first thing that they would do is turn around and sue Biscayne Park.
Right.
So that's why I reached out to Doreen as
Okay.
quickly as possible,
it.
saying
Yeah.
I would, and the only reason I'm bringing this context, I'm not doing that as any type of threat or anything, but just to provide color that that's why I approached Doreen so quickly was I didn't want it to turn into a circle where the
For
people
sure.
that won at the end of the day were the lawyers
Well, why don't we do this first? In case number EEN 21-0312, new evidence has occurred, so we will be dismissing that case and all applicable fines.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, we got that part.
Motion was to this, yeah, you got it.
so David, this case is dismissed by the board. I will be issuing you with another violation.
okay, you know where to find me.
Of course.
No, and thanks for all, I mean.
Thank you for
Doreen
your patience,
did-
David.
Yeah, gave a great, doc,
All right.
Okay.
Our next case, 6F,
Is it Frank?
1210 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 20-0238. Oriana Stephanie Avaledo.
What address was that again?
6F. Sorry. Sorry, Judy, 6F.
Well, going to ask for an order to impose a municipal fine on this case. But they came in and they asked for a reduction. They paid for all the citations that they had civil citations. They were really good on that. They paid everything off in good faith. And they are asking for a reduction on this 2,700, which is a lien that had run for some weeks between them getting the permit for the work that they had done without permits.
Right.
From the date that the order was expecting them to comply and the compliance date, which was 4/21. They had installed windows without permits.
Right. And the $1,000 was also paid.
They did pay the $1,000, which again, in good faith, they did
Mhm.
take care of that.
And then, yeah, so, and it passed the permit and all that.
Yes. The permit passed. Everything was good. It was only that they didn't even realize that this happened, that from the time that they got the permit, I mean, from the time the order was issued to when the permit was issued, there was a lapse of time. Right.
Even though planning and zoning, excuse me, planning and design review may approve you on a particular Monday night, that doesn't mean you have your permit yet. It still has to go through other evaluations before they file of the building official, usually, am I correct, before it's really issued. So it's not that you can't go by the planning and zoning date.
Well, the final say is the building.
I'm sorry, sir, your name and your
Sorry.
relationship to the property, please?
I'm Matthew. I'm a contractor that took care of most of these
It's
issues.
Directly into the.
Sorry, I took care of most of these issues. My question was, is the building official the final signature on the permit after planning and zoning?
So I'll speak to compliance, what compliance means. When an order is issued and you have a comply by date, the date when the permit is issued is the compliance date. So it has nothing to do with what the building official does after or any other inspector. For code, once that permit is issued, because we issued a violation for doing work without permits,
Right.
once the permit is issued, we take that date and the date that the order said you should comply by and count the days in between.
Okay. No, the only reason why I asked is because on my actual plans, I had a signed approval on
Mhm.
2/26, which was the date of order.
Okay, so approval doesn't mean issuance. Approval means it has gone through one section of inspection or review. It goes
Right.
through different, and it may end with the building official signing the final approval. It still has to be issued by the clerk. So
Right.
when the permit is issued, the date that we get in the system as the issue date is our compliance date.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a big gap between when the building official signed it and
Mhm.
when the permit clerk issued it. We're talking 50 days. Because I have 2/26, because I actually have a copy of the plan itself
Okay,
of when it was signed,
so are you talking about when the building official signed the plans?
of when the building official reviewed and signed the
That's-
plans.
That's not an approval.
That'd be right.
Well, building official is the final approval. Because he waits, I mean, he can't issue a final until it goes through planning and zoning. It goes through structural and then building reviews it as the final. But what I'm saying is that there was just a lapse between that and the permit clerk issuing it.
To that is because the permit clerks get the information before the building official even gets it.
Well,
So
the-
they will have it in the system.
Yeah, but this was also during COVID, so like everything took a lot longer than, like what could be a 2-week process?
Might have
COVID made
taken
it like a
longer.
4-month process, so.
I would testify that I'm a
Yeah.
custodian of record and I was not there during that time.
Yeah, no, it changed a lot of things, but
Yes.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proposed offer of $500 on case number EEN 20-238.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I,
thank you.
500. Thank you.
Motion passed
There's one more case.
4-0.
Oh, no, that one's gonna get paid. That's fine.
You accept that you will pay that case, the 200?
Yes.
Oh, then, okay. The board still has to hear it because
Okay.
it's on the agenda. Sure. So the other case they have is the next case on the agenda, which is 6G. And I thought they were gonna contest the 200, but they say they will pay it. It was also a violation for a dumpster that was on the property. And there was $200 violation fine, but I also want you to know that there's another $230 that you have to pay to get the permit. And that will bring this case into compliance. So paying the 200 and getting the,
It was a trailer. It was removed like the following day.
right, I have a picture of it. I know what.
Okay.
Yeah, right, so the violation did occur. So if you say you're not contesting the violation, I'm just reiterating that the 200 has to be paid.
Right.
Plus you have to get the after the fact permit.
We still have to pull a permit for it,
Yes, that is what's gonna bring you guys into compliance.
even if you just pay the.
The violation
or after-
fine, they still have to pay the $230 to the building department for it was on the property and the inspector took pictures, issued the violation, and there's a double fine with having a dumpster. They call it a dumpster. It's the same ordinance for dumpsters and trailers being used to haul trash or construction debris,
No construction debris, landscaping.
any kind of debris. So I just wanted to let you know, it's 115 for it, but because it's a double fine for a violation, it will be 230 to the building department.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're just gonna hold, if this is paid, is,
so once they pay the 200 and they do the 230, get the permit, then the case is in compliance.
right. So we aren't gonna do anything with this until it's complied?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's gonna stay open. So we'll table it to the next hearing.
Got it.
If you guys are in compliance, then I'll come and report to the board. If not, then they will come and,
It's the 230 dumpster without a permit and.
then there's a $200 violation fine, which was on the order of enforcement,
Oh, that's on the order of enforcement,
Yes.
right? So it's a total of 430.
430.
Resident. to pay.
We have a motion?
Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Well, I don't know if we need a motion because it's.
The motion
still-
hasn't been.
Still a fine.
Yeah, but we need to table
Motion
it.
to
for now.
table.
I'll make a motion to table till next hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
This 4-0.
The reason is because.
Dale, did the motion, and Janie,
Dale and Judy.
Dale and Judy.
Oh,
Mm. Right, and
Our next case, 6H, that's 10811 Northeast 10th Avenue. Case number EEN 18-0070. George Malik.
Not you yet, not you yet, Mr. Lafredo, sorry. Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Lafredo here.
Linda Boss. Isn't that what we're reading?
Yeah, it should be Mr. Lafredo's case, isn't
My
it?
apologies. Our next case, it's 6I. That's 11801 Northeast 10th Avenue. Case number CEN 23-26, Estate of Linda Brewer.
This particular case is now in compliance. I'm looking for the compliance pictures to impress the board. They have done a phenomenal job in cleaning up that property.
Yes, I did see that there was a order from the judge signed for the landscape.
Yeah.
For the payment of it. So I do thank you, sir, for getting.
Thank you for all your efforts, Mr. Lafredo.
I have copies of the checks. I don't know if you have a scanner here. I wasn't able.
Yes, we have,
In the
Mhm.
office.
Can I give
copy
them
of-
to the clerk and wait? It was so bad that there was plastic trash. I had to come out of pocket myself an additional sum of money. So, and I also came out of pocket, although I can't speak to it, for gratuities, because it was really hot out there and for each of the 6 men. But we worked very hard.
Oh, my
Yes.
God.
Yeah, it's like a different property.
My
And
goodness.
Wow.
the code officer, my wife and I were by it, or my sister and I were by it. And I know we're gonna get cited for pressure cleaning and painting, but we're gonna do that too. Cause we couldn't see when we got everything away now.
Yeah, we
I-
didn't
I
see
know,
that.
I-
We would have
I
done
know.
it all at once, but we couldn't see because of all the vegetation.
Oh,
I don't know who you had do this, but they did
A
one.
Great job,
Aren't they great?
Job.
amazing.
They're amazing.
That's impressive, I must say.
I'd like to make a motion that the property is now in compliance and to dismiss or dismiss and close the case on case number CEN 23-26.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
That one.
For the next case, the pictures we are going to distribute are for the vehicles. The vehicles are still on the property, unfortunately.
Right,
Maybe you can.
right. What
explain more.
I wanted to take care of one thing at a time.
Yes.
I would like to know if I could have 20 or 30 days to get rid of the vehicles. It took an enormous amount of effort to get
Mm,
the check for
Absolutely.
Joe
Or, yeah.
and get it all done.
I can understand.
His foreman is willing to take the smaller vehicle tomorrow, but I have to make sure that it's got the proper insurance on it. The other vehicle, I have to find someone to tow it away, the big vehicle. So I'm gonna be working on that tomorrow and Friday and Monday. Because we are in violation, and I would just like a little bit longer to get them off the
Fine.
property,
How much time more do you need, sir?
20 days. It may not take
Next
that
meeting,
long.
yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Would you be ready by our June meeting? It's June 21st.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we table it till June 21st.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
June 21st, sir.
Thank you. Can I?
Tomorrow, yeah. Thank you, sir. Who's next? What's your property address, ma'am? Oh, see that.
Our next case, 7F 12020 Northeast Fifth Avenue. Case number CEN 23-64. Marika M. Mattingly.
Okay, this is the one we just got. Let's give everybody a couple of minutes to read through this because we just got this tonight.
They're just gonna read through the. Okay. Just a minute. Present while they're reading, right? May I present while you're reading?
Yes.
This is case number CEN 23-64. My name is Doreen Grant, Code Compliance Supervisor. I'm the issuing officer of this case. This case was issued to Marika M. Mattingly. I'm so sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Street address is 12020 Northeast Fifth Avenue. They were found to be in violation of chapter 19.1.3. A license is required to advertise a short-term vacation rental. They were advertising the entire home hosted by Mika for $452 a night on Airbnb and $600 a night on VRBO. And this was done, of course, without a license. There's an assessed violation fine of $1,000 that comes with this case.
Ma'am, if you would state your name and your
Sure.
relationship to the property, and I do need you to speak closely into the mic. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Mika Mattingly. I'm the owner of 12020 Northeast Fifth Avenue. And should I go ahead and, yeah, okay. So when I moved in 2018, I filled out at that time what was the appropriate short-term rental that was done at that time. And I had no idea there was any other procedure. I travel quite a bit. I have my mail held quite a bit. I never got anything from you guys saying that there was a new protocol or a new procedure. I would have certainly done it right away. I have started the process. I've taken it off, it's been taken off of all of the listing services and I'm in the process of, getting the appropriate license, but it does obviously, I didn't realize how much it took. So I'm working on it and I will have it, but it's no longer listed anywhere.
It's true that the advertisement was pulled on the 15th, which is 2 days ago. However, I will stress every resident of the village of Biscayne Park received from the village manager a mailing on September 13, 2022, telling them about the new law, how to get the permits and the process. In December, I believe it was December 11, we posted your property with a courtesy notice reminding you of this notification that the manager gave. We did this for every property in the village. So everybody received ample notification.
Right, but I mean, it's obviously your word against mine. I didn't receive anything. I would have certainly done something if I had received something and I did not receive anything. And I mean, I don't have no issue. I've never had any issue. If that was what was needed, I would have done it immediately. I didn't know. I'm extremely busy but I still have, I could have somebody do that for me. But I wasn't even really actively, it was just really to see what was out there. I wasn't really even actively renting my house. I mean, there's never been a complaint about my house. There's, I follow procedure. So in this case, like, what can I say? Much of my mail has been lost in this holding process. That's all I can tell you.
Unfortunately, the code doesn't just address residents renting out their homes. It addresses residents advertising their homes for rent. This violation was issued to you because you had advertisement all the way to 2 days ago.
Right,
on
but I totally
Airbnb.
forgot. I mean, actually, like, that was just stupidity on my fault. If you look at that house, it hasn't been rented on either of the sites. It was
That's
just
possible.
stupidity on my fault not to remove it right away. Instead, I was applying for the process, but I obviously
Then
should have
you-
removed it
in fact,
immediately.
you did advertise, you were testing the waters, as you appear to be saying. That's what we've got to go by. And there was, in this case, significant amounts of information coming out, mailings, it was announced on social media, it was out there. I'm not inclined to,
I mean, especially as soon as I got the notice, I came here and discussed it with you guys. That was like about a month and a half ago.
Right. We
So-
absolutely explained to her what the violation was, why the violation was issued to her, and what the process was for her to appeal. And this is why she's here.
And that's why also I immediately went to the process to do it the right way. Like,
Do you have an application in the system?
yeah, well, I've started it, but I don't have all I have somebody right now getting all the information that needs to finish the application.
So until we see something in the system, I wouldn't be able to tell the board that you're doing due diligence and applying for, you might as well be doing it, but if I had something in the system, at least a number to show that, okay, she has 5, 6 documents uploaded, she's waiting for one to be, I would have reported that to the board
this shows the case was opened in March.
in March. Absolutely.
Comments, questions, motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that a violation did occur and to reaffirm a fine of $1,000.
I'll second that.
Aye,
That was on case CEN 23-64.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, 826 will go last. What's your address, sir? Oh, 1,000.
Our next case is 7A 1000 Northeast 119th Street. Case number CEN-23-73. Patricia M. Costa and Daniel T. Desmond. Property owner in this case as of today is compliant. I will submit some photos for the review.
Would like to submit onto the record compliance pictures for 1,000 Northeast 119th Street.
This one first. This is A. Well, this is for we're here in the case with regards to property maintenance with the
Painting.
overgrown, right?
This shows that the painting,
These pictures are for the, house itself, yeah,
right,
I'm looking
No, no.
we need the ones that do the overgrowth.
the overgrowth.
Act-
Careful.
Correction, the second set of photos was for the overgrowth.
Correct.
Correct.
Questions, comments?
Well, I see it, some of it's trimmed. My only concern is you're probably gonna have an issue within the next couple weeks again.
Yeah.
Because it's barely off of the stop sign.
Yeah.
I mean, I see where there's been an effort, but
Yeah.
if you go out to the street and look,
So if you look,
the stop sign is still partially.
Distracted.
obscured,
Obscured.
obscured was the word I was looking for.
And so while there's an effort, work needs to be done. Starting to sound like Dan Keys.
This, among everything else, our stop signs are really critical because
Safety.
there are just too many places where, especially if somebody's not familiar, they don't know if stop sign's gonna be there. If they can't see it because of your foliage, somebody's gonna get creamed. So that's pretty important.
Understood. I'm Daniel Desmond. I own the house at 1,000 Northeast 119.
I'm sorry, sir.
I said, my name is Daniel Desmond. I own the house at 1,000 Northeast 119. This is news to me that I needed to cut anything in front of a stop sign. Officer Luciano was kind enough to come out last week after I emailed, Doreen emailed me back, right? And then he came out the following day. He told me I needed to clean he gave me the initial violation and then I scrubbed some of it off and I cut the grass on 10th Ave. And I thought I was compliant. And then I came back and there was a violation notice to come here today. And that's why I'm here. And then, so then once I got that notice, I called, he came back out. He showed me exactly what I needed to do. I bought a pressure washer. I pressure washed the entire house. I cut things back, but as maybe I misunderstood you when you came out, I was not aware that I needed to cut anything around a stop sign. I'm happy to cut whatever you guys need me to cut to not have any
I
problems with
absolutely
the city.
agree, not to interrupt you, sir, I absolutely agree with the board that we need to have the stop sign clear. This is a life and safety issue.
Sure.
You know, cyclists, drivers. But I can see where the officer came and found compliances because when you have your vehicle by the stop sign, it's now very clear. The picture was taken like too close to the-
Which stop sign are we
to the
talking about?
stop
The one
sign.
on 10th or the one on 119th?
You see?
Oh, okay, I could see. Okay,
Right.
all
You
right.
see, When
Oh.
the vehicle is at the stop sign, it's now clear to see. However, before we get to the stop sign, it would be preferable if all this foliage here would be cut back.
Okay,
Absolutely, for
All right.
safety.
perfect.
Down low, you seem to be fine. It's as you get up higher,
Okay,
it's.
Need,
you have a problem.
Obstructing.
So in another 2 weeks or so, you'll be getting another fine.
And if we ever get rain,
Okay.
Violation.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, he can come check. I mean, I'm going out of town tomorrow. I'll be back next week. I'm happy to cut it on Tuesday. He can come out at the end of next week or the beginning of the following one.
Would
and we'll be good.
appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you,
no
sir.
problem.
we have enough people who run stop signs when they're not obstructed. We need to make sure that they're not obstructed so they can be seen.
Perfect.
okay, can I get a motion?
And so, and that the violation occurred in March and it just got complied with now. I'll make a motion that a violation did occur and.
Well, I mean, if I could respectfully disagree, sir. The initial violation was in March, okay?
Yes,
he gave me 30 days at that time to become compliant. I scrubbed a lot of stuff off of my house. I did not.
we're not on the house.
We're not on the
This is
house.
only.
Oh, so we're not for, no, because there's 2 violations that I received. Oh, so we're for the overgrown. We're for the overgrown. Forget the house. Okay. So as far as the overgrown,
I think we're good for a motion.
Yeah, and let me finish my motion. The
Oh,
violation
okay.
did occur, now partially in compliance with the resident to, fully comply by, within 2 weeks. If not, a daily fine of. Are the daily fines are 250 per day thereafter. Actually, I'll make it within, what's the date is 17? 20 days. That's good. Only because for the. it
Yeah,
be
better to
mailed
put
out.
an exact date in, absolutely.
Can we report that to the next hearing?
To come into full compliance by June the 7th, if not a $250 day fine thereafter. So basically, sir, trim it on up and meet with Luciano.
perfect.
It'll be great.
Awesome.
And then he'll do the affidavit of compliance.
Quick question.
Okay.
Do I have any fines currently?
No.
Yes. We just assessed one
Oh,
I mean, fine you in violation.
No. Regardless, besides this one,
Okay.
I'm saying, do I owe any money up now to you besides this trimming the stop sign?
The motion was if you don't comply by June 7th, there will be a
Okay.
daily fine that will start.
Okay, so I'm good right now
Accruing.
until I cut, and then after I cut, I'll be
Right.
okay. Awesome.
Who seconded it?
Who said?
I'll second it.
All in
Judy?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
And
Next
for the
one.
record, that was
There's one more.
CEN 23-73.
That is partially compliant, come into full compliance by June 7th, or a $250 daily fine. Gail made the motion, Judy second.
How they gonna-
Our next case, 7B, that's 1000 Northeast 119th Street. Case number CEN 23-74. Patricia M. Costa and Daniel T. Desmond. This property is now in compliance and photos were submitted.
So I have a question. I see where it's taken a while. Has the resident been working with you during this period?
Yes, he has been working with me in regards to the maintenance
With the house.
of the house. He did clean it and then I came back and we discussed that he needed to do a deeper clean on the residence.
I'm looking on the second picture up at the top. what I mean?
Yeah, it looks like it needs to be painted.
I mean, I got on the top of my ladder. I did fall off my ladder, pressure washing the front of that house. So it's way up there. You know, it's like I tried my best. I put my pressure washer there and it's not,
That's
it's
gotta
not.
Happen too, for compliance, that's gotta happen too.
So what do I need to do with that then?
Yeah, that's done, right,
yeah,
but up at the top, it's still.
Mhm.
I would feel like the same as we did with the first violation, that partially in compliance, I'd like to give them a deadline to come into full compliance, if not, then the daily fine.
Agree. Yes, because I think, sir, you might have to get up there with some
Paint.
strong, well, I don't know about paint, but, at least some strong,
Pressure wash.
urgent, and you might have to actually scrub it with
The code officer thinks,
Yes.
I mean, we're really like, I gotta, in all honesty, like, I understand, I'm happy to be in compliant with the city. But it's like, man, like I spend a lot of my days doing that. And with all due respect, I just think that's like nitpicking a little bit to make it.
we all
become
do to keep
compliant.
our homes clean.
No, I understand, man,
do.
but it's like between that and like I mean, I understand you guys are gonna
It-
make your decision, but
It was in a very bad state, sir, and I will say you have made some improvement, but looking at the picture myself, now I didn't look at the picture before, you need to paint it.
okay, I
You need to
mean,
paint the house.
all right,
This is
listen,
not
to be
something
honest
that
with you, I can't afford to paint my house right now.
Well, that's where
You know what I
this
mean?
board comes
I
in.
mean,
I'll make a motion that the, property, was in violation and is now partially in compliance. Give the resident till, when's our next hearing?
June 21st.
Yeah.
You have to do ahead of that
Oh, yeah,
because he
till-
wants to be
till-
closed.
Until, right, until
Probably 6, 7 like you did on the other.
past the weekend, until June the, 13th.
But does that give you enough time if you have to notice him? Okay, that's what was my concern. Do they have enough time to post a notice?
Right.
Okay,
Until June the 13th, to come into compliance, and not a $250 state fine.
50 a day.
So I'm not sure what that is up there, and it may just require some of that,
what you forget.
wet and forget. Well, wet and forget takes 30 days.
I mean, if you could recommend what I could put on there to.
We can't recommend
happy.
anything.
What do you mean you
but
can't
the-
recommend
No,
it?
we can't, all we can do is suggest that you either paint it or have it clean.
Oh, okay, no, I'm just saying as like a homeowner, like as like just a person, like what can you recommend that I could put on there to get it to take it off?
Okay, so we have,
Off the record or whatever, unofficially.
We're on the record.
yes, we are completely on the record. We're not
Okay.
recommending anything, just whatever it takes. All right,
Okay.
we have a,
You might want to just Google.
All right, I mean, I bought stuff.
we have a motion and a second that the property is, no, I don't think that.
So it's just to get
second.
those, so
Second.
just to be clear, for the one from before, just make sure that I could, that the stop, just trim it back to make sure that when you're a certain amount of distance away, that you can see the stop sign clearly.
What I would suggest is once you do it.
Call 'em.
Luciano,
Okay. Perfect. Okay, awesome. I
and-
appreciate it.
And make sure they come out so that y'all both have a clear understanding.
Awesome. And then for the top, just make sure that that the marks are whatever it takes to get those marks off.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Once again,
Okay.
do it. Call them and say, hey, I've done it. How does this look?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so
Happy
we
to
had
do
a
that.
motion and a second,
Who seconded?
a compliant,
Judy did.
you seconded, didn't you? Yeah. Dale and Judy.
Yes, and that was on case number CEN 23-74.
We have a 6/13 compliance date, if not, a 250 daily fine.
Okay,
All in
perfect.
favor?
Aye.
Hi.
4-0.
We're all set?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Our next case, 6E, Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 22-0383. Jan Roots and wife Denise.
This case has been coming before this board for progress reports. The last time we were here, there was a report from the building official that was reviewed, that he had given certain conditions and requirements that needed to be done and achieved, accomplished before a certain time, before May 8th to be specific. If not, we would refer the case to the Miami-Dade County Safe Structure Board. I'm sorry about that. We did not receive any paperwork. However, we did receive a call from the attorney saying that the owner had asked for an extension of time. I did not take that call because this case has moved to higher jurisdictions, and I referred it to the building official. I believe the attorney communicated with the building official. In the evidence submitted to you, you'll see that the email before the building official said he would grant the extension only if the manager would approve. However, the manager wrote me back and said it was not up to him. This case was before this board, and this board is the only board that has the jurisdiction to offer that extension. However, he did mention that the commission, there's a directive from the commission of the Village of Biscayne Park to move the case before the county.
Right.
I did inform the building official that even though the commission is a higher jurisdiction than the board, this board has the final say on whether they want to give this extension or
I'm
not.
very familiar.
The decision from this board, we will go and report back to the building official, and the building official will move with the order that will be given tonight, whether to go to the county or give the residents a new deadline.
This has gone on way too long.
I
Not inclined.
moved into this town April 30th, 1996, and this property was boarded up then. So if they have not been able to get things in gear in 27 years, I don't see any reason why we should grant them any more time.
Respectfully, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think the building was
Oh, yes, it was.
boarded up in 1996.
Yes, it was.
If you need an affidavit to the effect that there were residents living there in 1996, I'm happy to provide.
Sir, even if there was no if there didn't live there, just the restart of this case alone has gone on for a few years. And it's extension after extension. I'm not going down that road anymore. I will
No.
not vote for the extension.
No, I will not.
If I can respond before a decision is made, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
First, we had COVID. Okay, the building owner lost her husband before COVID. She had health issues before COVID. Then in the midst of COVID, she attempted to rectify outstanding fines and submit building permits and the like, which she was having problems submitting because of COVID, because the office was closed. There were a lot of issues during COVID. Post-COVID, well, we're still in COVID. I actually had COVID about 2 months ago, so it still exists, unfortunately. But she submitted permits again. And we went through multiple meetings. I've attended half a dozen of these meetings since August or September of last year, bouncing from commission to we've gone back and forth. One board says one thing, another board says another thing. We're told 50% rule. We're told 6 months. No, there was abandonment. Then we finally get a reprieve after submitting all she wants to do is fix the property. She has the permits ready. She has everything ready, but we're told, no, you cannot do it for
Let
X,
me-
Y,
Let
and
me
Z
bottom
reasons.
line it for you. Let me bottom line it for you. The building official provided you and your clients a lengthy list of what had to occur in 2 months. It has not occurred.
Have you seen the list?
Please,
It's a lengthy list. We've hired an
Wait,
engineer. We've
excuse me?
hired an appraiser. We've hired all these people and
And
we had
the-
additional questions and
excuse
you
me.
didn't respond to our calls.
This has gone on long before COVID started. It's so easy to blame COVID. That was 2 years long after. I can assure you that property was boarded and in the kind of shape it's in long before any of us even knew what COVID was.
So here's the question. You have a resident who submitted permits to fix the building completely. And the reason why it's in this current condition is because we've been told, well, there's a 50% rule. Well, there's zoning issues. Well, it's an irregular lot. So we have been told by several different boards that we cannot do what you're asking us to
There are
do.
only 2 boards in the commission, sir. There are not
Right.
several boards.
Well, there's
And the
two,
only
we've been
thing-
before the 2 boards and the commission.
And the only thing we can go on is what's in writing, not anecdotal evidence.
Well, there is an important anecdotal piece here and it's in the record, which is I contacted the building official to obtain clarity over some of these requirements and asking for a brief extension of time to submit everything. And that's all we're asking. The alternative is you are going to go forward to knock down a building, which is going to take several months. And what is that going to accomplish?
What have we accomplished in the extensions that you've
Well,
gotten so far?
I'm telling you, we're very close to trying to get the document
I'm
that
done.
he has.
As far as I'm concerned,
No.
I'm not voting for
I'm-
extension. My
Can-
board members,
Can I express my opinion on this matter? I've been in construction for 42 years. And on my personal opinion, that building is not repairable, period. That has to be knocked down. And if we present it to the county as such, they will approve the demolition of that house.
You know, we got a report that said that was less than $200,000 to repair that property. Do you understand what $200,000 worth of construction is? That wouldn't barely paint and roof that property, let alone do all the structural stuff. It also said that the value of the property was far higher than it was because it compared it to the other houses that are in good living condition around it, which it is not in good living condition. So I do not feel that you guys have been honest with us. I think this is a bunch of baloney, and I don't think we should be granting anything. I think the county should be demolishing it, whether it takes 2 months or 3 months. We have played with this for 20 some odd years.
Well, we will fight this tooth and nail. The municipal muscle that you all are exerting for another 60 days so we can comply and instead
You
wanting to
have
tear
no
down a
idea.
building makes absolutely no sense.
do you have any idea how long we've been told another
60 days.
I'm done. I'm going to call. for-
No.
if
There
everybody's
was,
ready, I'll
but there
call.
was one extension that you all granted previously. You granted a 4-month extension. We met with the building official back in March. He gave us, he just said, okay, here are all the requirements that you have to do within 60 days, not discussing with us how feasible that is. We hired the appraiser, we hired the engineer, we hired everybody. All we're asking for is another 60 days. If you've claimed that this has been going on since 1996, what is another 60 days?
And we've heard that before too. That
I've
doesn't
never
fly.
I've
I'm
never
sorry,
said that.
We've heard it over and over.
From who?
and
I've been the
over.
only one appearing before you.
I will second. Oh, you want me to make the motion? I will make the motion that we turn this over to Dade County for
We
demolition,
do not grant the
that
extension.
we do not grant the extension.
I will second. All in favor?
So what
Aye.
is,
I'm sorry.
what is your motion? Is your motion is to,
Not grant the-
not to grant the, because it's not before us to grant an extension, was it? It's basically.
It sort of is.
Isn't it? The notice, move forward on the notice to refer to Miami-Dade unsafe structure for demolition. Would that be, what we're recommending, because isn't that what's before us as a remedy?
But also the.
Yes, but they did ask
Yeah.
for the extension, so you have to rule on
The extension and what our
Right.
recommendation,
and what the recommendation of
Right.
the board is.
is that what you're?
Yes.
Yes.
My motion is to turn it over to Dade County for their input and to not grant an extension.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
So for the record, I would like to say that there's 11 open cases on this particular property now that it has come to this point. The unsafe structure case that has been discussed, for a long period of time, I would say the last maybe 2 years from 2022. There was an order of enforcement with a daily fine of $35 a day. There was no compliance. Now, I would like to ask the board, now that they went through the process of going to planning and zoning, they had submitted plans, all of those plans that were submitted were denied by the zoning board, I believe, several times. Does that spell non-compliance so we can confirm this fine, the daily fine, which was issued in the order of enforcement, it's a while back. Order of enforcement for case 22-383. So there's that case, while he's looking at the number and the date, there's also the case where we lost a human life to bees. There was a fine of $500 violation fine, and then there was $1,500 paid to the company that removed the bees, which the city incurred those costs. I would like to ask that the $2,000 be assessed as a lien now.
Don't you
when
need a
it's paid.
motion for that? I mean, doesn't there need to be a hearing?
I'm asking for a
And proper
motion.
notice? No, but there needs to be proper notice if you're going to find the building owner. You can't just,
This-
it wasn't on the
That's
agenda.
proper notice, sir.
There's an order of enforcement on the case, and I would just like, I went through all the 11 cases. Most of them never came to the board because of the unsafe structure case. So what we may have to do with all those cases, I would like to ask for the permission of the board to look at the minor cases. There was some for graffiti and canopy. If we can close those cases and maybe just focus on this one case where there was a loss of life.
I would say anything of that minor nature, whatever the proper procedure to bring it back and we close it, how do you folks feel? Just because we need to deal in the bigger picture,
Big picture.
not worry about graffiti on the wall or whatever.
So there are only two cases that have administrative fines on them, one for $100, one for $50. And then there's the one case where there was the loss of life that with the bees. And then this unsafe structure.
But
which
why,
has the
why,
35.
why is that case? What does that have to do with this property?
Because that's,
It's already ruled upon.
Right, that's already
There's
been. done.
already a fine out
There's
there.
already a fine out.
But are you, I guess the question, are you adding a new fine?
No.
right now?
no,
Oh, sir.
Okay,
I just
thank
came
you.
to the board to reconfirm the fine.
Ah.
We will go ahead and have it recorded in the county record now as a lien because this fine has been outstanding for a very long time. I
And
stressed it
that
was a
fine,
life
that
and
fine is $2,000?
$2,000.
Okay.
If the owner wants to pay, that's fine by us. We can close that case. However, if they don't pay, it's a case that was issued in 2018. It's a long.
Do you know when that lien would be recorded? And I can advise the owner of that. So if, I will have to
As-
discuss with the owner. This is
as-
all news to me, so.
Okay, as soon as the board, maybe I can give the board time to go over the case so they can confirm this, maybe bring it back to the next hearing. So we can do an intent to lien and notice you and you can go through the paperwork. However, we will definitely move with an intention to lien.
Thank you.
Oh, Mike. While Janie stepped away, let the record show that Michael Anand has arrived.
I apologize. I've got a, team of lawyers that, in the first trial, and they just got back to trial, they got that late, and then next thing I know, I left it from, went to the meeting tonight. We done?
Not yet. Yeah. Well, no, it's all out of order. We only have
I know
two more
the
and
attorney has left, but there was something else. When we do bring this case, I would like the board to hear now that the case, even though there was an order of enforcement with a daily fine of $35 a day, if there was no compliance. This case has come back to the board. I cannot even count how many times. It's been a lot of work for us to bring it back, to communicate. There was no administrative cost. I would like to ask for $1,000 administrative cost on this particular case that has been coming back and forth to the board.
well, if you recollect, I think I brought that up.
96
a
when I
few
did.
meetings ago that, yes, that
Saying,
should be adding administrative costs on all these that we're moving forward on a notice to place a lien or any of these that, we're bringing forward.
Can
Yeah,
legally.
and I'm asking $1,000 on this one just because of the number of times it's come to the board.
Right now, we move to, have the village move forward with,
Let the record show that Michael is in attendance.
safe structures.
structure.
Yeah, yeah, there's wood,
At-
wood.
8 o'clock, give or take.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Well, that's.
Well, it's up to the county.
yeah, probably will also.
I mean, it's really bad.
Oh, yeah. There's no-
No, they're trying to say they're gonna do repairs.
No.
They're trying.
Okay, guys, remember into the mics because we got to be heard.
So,
We're moving on. Michael, welcome.
We have a request from David that he would like to address the board. Is that okay?
we're back on the case or?
I think that's for you to decide in 1 second. So, David Gruen, 11520 Griffin Boulevard. Might be the first person you ever had come back to say, hey, do you want to reopen this against me? Because one thing that I was thinking, while I was trying to put my kid to bed, is one possible unintended consequence, because I don't know how you guys, operate, is if you dismiss the current case, that I believe that would remove your ability to go after CR properties. And my understanding off of the violation notice that you emailed to me showing the original violation was that it was directed to CR Properties LLC more so than specifically to 11520. And the piece of information I'm free to disclose to you guys is they blatantly lied like up and down their seller's disclosures to me because they said, oh, we didn't do any construction. Oh, we never had any violation. Well, all of this type of stuff. So that's part of why it was such a surprise to me. So my thought is if you guys have the ability to go after people that are no longer owners in the village, you may want to, rather than close the current violation, create a new violation for me while you decide what to do with that first violation. And again, I only bring it up because I care a lot about Biscayne Park, and that's more than $30,000 that I feel like you guys have a right to go after.
We have the ability to go after the former owner.
I don't think so.
Where code compliance is concerned, we can only deal with current owners.
Okay.
And the reason why I personally felt that we shouldn't stick this on you is because all the correspondence and everything was addressed to the previous owner. Now, if this was disclosed before you bought the property, it would have been a different issue.
Yep.
But you bought the property without the knowledge of this particular violation.
No, I just, like I said, if there was an ability for you to go after them still, then
Yeah.
I didn't want all of a sudden you guys to be walking away from that, because I know it's not a
And,
small amount of
and I
money.
think for us, more than the amount of money, our concern is safety and security of the area and being in compliance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, again, I demonstrated, I moved my explanation from Mario was not to file the after the fact permit until I'd had this hearing.
Yeah.
So I plan on tomorrow filing that after the fact but he said that I could move forward with getting the engineer letter and that's why I did all of that stuff. So I drove back over here for no reason,
Oh,
but
that's-
I wanted to make sure that Biscayne Park wasn't leaving money on the table and I realized maybe by
Your
dismissing it, we were.
concern is appreciated, but
Yeah.
we just want everybody safe.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay.
Unfortunately, once the house is sold, that's why we insist so much on doing things right before the property is sold.
Yeah.
Once the property is
And-
sold, we can't go after the previous owner.
And this is why we're trying so hard to get liens placed on properties that have large debts. Because previous to me being on the commission 2 years ago, there weren't a lot of liens being put on and we kind of, there needs to be, because if it's in a lien, then it will show up in a lien search and it's not
Recorded.
like everybody has to dig through little records.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for, I guess, hearing from me again.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Olivia. That's just my chicken scratch.
Our next case, 6B. That's 690 Northeast 121st Street.
60.
Case number EEN 19-1565 Olivia Almagro.
In this case, really, don't we need to look at B and D? Because D is essentially what we shouldn't have heard and Mark did and made a completely wrong ruling. I mean, on one hand, this is one of those where you go, there's enough blame to go around because Luciano's email of February 16th, which denotes 2 open cases, was in that backup. But if you remember, Dale and I remembered that case when we first heard it, just not when and not what the results were, because it had been 2 or 3 years. So it's more than slightly difficult to go put a lien on a property when in fact we reheard the case and gave a whole different set of findings. And the other thing, if you remember, when it came, I believe, Michael, it was you that asked, how long is a pay permit good? And I said 6 months. And I was corrected and told 60 days. Turns out it is 6 months. And had we known that, we may have ruled differently, but now it's turned out to be 6 months. And I kind of counted on the person who corrected me because they worked there, that you would have known and maybe things had changed, but so this is a little uncomfortable situation. Comments?
No, what my only comment is that is the owner working with the village to rectify the situation? I remember it came before us a few years ago and there was somewhat of a hardship. And they were going to pressure clean the house. And I believe they attempted to pressure clean the house, but the paint is so thin on it. The concrete underneath sort of bleeds through.
Well, she got her approved color permit on the 19th of April. So that's the case from March.
That's the new case. And when we spoke to Miss Olivia, she said she wasn't aware that these liens were running on her property, which I find hard to believe because there's been enough correspondence between her previous inspectors and the present inspector. I've been to the property myself and I've spoken with her like a sister. She has done a little bit of work. She pressure cleaned the house, and she did get the paint approval through P and Z. As of today, when we went to the property, it's still not painted. She's still not in
But she's
compliance.
got till October, unfortunately. Paint permit's good for 6 months.
Paint permit, the P and Z.
Remember, I said 6 months,
Right.
and then we were told
It has-
60 days. 60 days is one issue, 6 months is a long time.
So will that negate the old case? Will the October 16? So the old case compliance date has to move to October 16 as well?
Right, I would think, how could we not? I mean, how did we end up with two of the same cases, two of the same violations,
Violation.
treated as two separate cases?
Right. Well, this violation was issued in 2019.
2019.
Obviously, there has been no compliance. The house, when you look at the pictures, look exactly the same. There was a lapse in between the exchange of inspectors employed and not employed. There was no follow-up. Now, what the new inspector should have done is maybe gone ahead and enforced this particular violation that was issued in 2019.
Right.
However, he issued a new violation, which is identical to that, and that's double jeopardy. So I'll leave it to the board to either dismiss one of the cases and wait for this deadline, or we'll leave it.
Legally, I don't see how we could possibly put a lien when the same exact
He's now
violation
trying
is
to
out
figure
there
out.
with an October end date.
No, push the button.
So, yeah, it's the way I see it, it seems like something happened in 19. And the new inspector basically, freshened up the ink on it, and we did a new violation, and then she's been now in compliance with that violation by getting the paint permit, which Jenny is now saying is 6 months into the future. So I think that, I think that, they kind of escaped there, and they got some time ticking.
We didn't do what we were supposed to do.
Well, I'm not even looking at that. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of where are we right now? And if you wind it back, it seems like,
Can't change, it is what it is, but I would say, we certainly can't put an intentional lien on that,
Particular violation.
not on that particular case.
I mean, now I guess the question is, do we dismiss the most recent violation to keep the older one in place? And then if she violates on the 6-month deal, then we can go back to 19 instead of back to earlier this year.
That's a good question.
We might be able to do that. To add a little leverage there to our neighbor to get her place painted.
I would like to just kind of address the board. I was just reading the requirements for the exterior paint approval form. And on the form, it says to be completed within 60 days.
Yeah, but right, because there was a misunderstanding, I guess, on the board as to how long that it would go for. So
It's included in the backup, says October.
Indeed, yeah, and
I guess the question is, does the board have the authority to supersede by order something that's in the code? Right? The 6-month code. Can we as a board shorten it? Okay.
It says
So,
October 16th.
I mean, that makes sense.
And so if she
You-
did something that says October 15th, we can't very well turn around now and say, oh, no, we didn't mean that. We meant June.
But I would say if she's not in compliance by October 16th, we go at it full force. Because
But I'm still on what he asked. Do we keep the old case or do we enforce using the new case?
That is a question I think we'd have to go to the village attorney
and I think that's
for them, us making that decision.
I think that whoever is inquiring to the village attorney, I think the question is can we go back to a 19 violation on a paint permit that, that wasn't complied with, that was applied for in April. And I guess the question is, let's just assume that she didn't go for the other, for the one, and we had one from 19, and then we showed some dispensation on the board and allowed her to get a paint permit. We could have done that, right? right? There didn't have to be a new violation for,
No,
right?
no.
So to me, I see the new violation as kind of a, a distinction without a difference.
Yeah, because the original, the order of enforcement for the paint violation was she was to have complied by October the 22nd. And if not, it was going to be a $10 a day fine there
Yeah, that was back in 2020, I think.
of 2020, right? And
I have a question about that too. Now that she has gotten this approval, the paint, should we allow these fines to continue running or should we stop them?
what?
So she has a daily fine running right now for
On
$10.
the old
Wou- Wouldn't
violation.
it, wouldn't it stop once she has pulled the permit? What was it? She was, exterior walls, shall be maintained.
So the violation wasn't for her doing work without permits. That's the
That's
kind of
different.
violation
That's a
that
different
would
one.
stop once she pulls a permit. This is not that case.
No, that's.
We,
Oh,
right, we issued the violation because she did not maintain the walls. So
Meaning paint the walls.
for us would be to have that wall painted. The approval doesn't comply the case. It's just an approval.
Yeah, that's not.
If she doesn't,
I agree with that.
doesn't paint the house.
Yeah.
Now until October, she's still in violation. But my question was about the fine. Should we allow that fine to continue running? Because it's been running since.
well, wouldn't until she comes into compliance.
Right.
Right.
But still,
So it
it's
still would run and then she would have to come for a fine reduction after.
Or if she complies by October the 16th, then she's met it. So I would think that it would stop whenever she had
Then
pulled the
right.
permit because she took the action to do it. We
Right.
just happened to give her 6 months extra to do it. But from October the 22nd until she pulled the permit,
Mhm.
I would think that there would be a $10 a day fine at that point.
But we're mixing the two cases now.
No.
No.
No, you've got
think-
this one from the beginning,
The old one.
2020.
Right, right.
The one we said need to pull a permit, and she pulled a permit.
The permit.
He was told to pull a permit here. That one still should be running.
Gotcha.
This one, it was like, this is a
Okay.
reminder.
Yeah.
Right.
Will it be in,
It was brought
Okay.
before us and we did an order of enforcement.
will it be in order for us to have the new case dismissed and use the old case to enforce this violation?
I would think so.
I
but-
would think so, but
I mean, it sounds logical to me, but I think there was a question about checking with the village attorney about something, right?
would feel a little more comfortable if.
I mean, I would certainly rule that way. If it were, but if there's a concern, then let's vet it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so-
Take it to that.
We got till October, right? So we can maybe table this until the next meeting. We can get the consultation from the village attorney, then come back and vote on it.
State when the inspector issued, I was training, and when the inspector issued the violation, I went and did a history check on the property and I found all this, and this is one thing that I had to give him as a lesson.
Hmm.
We have open violations with the same violation open, we don't issue another.
Another.
So I am aware that this
So Jane,
new violation is kind of.
Janie, who takes it to the village attorney? Is it you?
No, they can. pass it
can-
on to Chantage.
Okay.
Because even when I have a question, I run it through Chantage.
Okay.
The,
About consulting with the attorney about the existing order of enforcement under case number EEN 19 1565 and the present order of enforcement EEN 3-15.
Right.
Right.
Can we drop one for the other?
And we just.
so
Yes, I'm
The
sorry.
new one and keep it under the old numbers.
in terms of the expiration date of the permit on the form, it states that it's 60 days. So when the permit is issued, it doesn't have the date that you see on the permit is handwritten. It doesn't print when the permit is issued. So that on the form, I'm just reading the form, it says 60 days. Yeah, so the date that you see on the, yeah. Yeah, and she has a copy. I mean, I'm looking at her records. So the application form that she submitted, it stays there that is 60 days. So the date that you see it on the permit, it was more like a building,
The building clerk put that on
put-
there.
yeah, it was a,
It's 6 months.
yeah, so the October date is really not the, yeah, it was a building error.
Have a motion that we table this until June's meeting, and staff will get with the attorney.
Yes,
and
I'll
get
make,
some guidance.
I'll make a motion in, that we take case in 23-15 until next meeting to give the, officers a opportunity to meet with the, village
No
attorney
clarification.
on how to proceed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the next case is another case that that's case number EEN dash
Which,
20-10.
which is it?
It's for Olivia, what's
Um,
it?
6?
Steve,
See?
C.
Same lady.
So that's EEN 20, right?
Yeah, 20.
20-0189. This violation was issued for a fence that was installed without permits. It was a dilapidated fence and she needed to go in and get permits to fix it. Now, there's an order of enforcement that was issued in September 22 of 2020. And she was to come into compliance with that order on November 30th. If not, a fine of $50 a day would start running. That fine has been running for 879 days, and as of today, it's at 43,950. So I was hoping Miss Olivia would be here to
yeah, I very definitely remember this case also. We didn't assess a base penalty. We gave her the time to come into compliance on this, and at this point, we're now looking at 2.5 years later.
and I can testify that she has not applied for a permit for the fence, not even an after the fact permit.
I'm okay with the intent to lien letter.
I'll second that.
I mean, she had noticed to be here, right?
She, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she had noticed to be here.
She.
Yes, she acknowledged it.
It's always got an excuse.
There's a long email from her that she explains that doesn't remember. She said that she had spoken with the inspector and it's a long email.
And asked postpone,
Mhm.
and last month she wasn't here, or I'm sorry, March she wasn't here either.
Yeah, I did reply. I don't think they put the reply in her. I did reply to this email and encourage her to attend this meeting so she can say to the board everything she put in the email and she.
But I think she's confusing some issues. She's not cited for fence being in disrepair. She's cited for permit, I'm sorry, work without a permit. If you see where she says, the fence was repaired back then, but it sustained some damage. That's not what we're discussing. We're discussing repairs without permit.
And then she says, I do recall notifying your office about the situation, but unfortunately, nothing was done. What were we supposed to do?
So again, I would move that
Apparently,
that we do send the intent to lien letter on this one.
Yes, I second, because, she was actually, I believe, if I recollect, she was present when we made that ruling.
Yes.
Order of enforcement.
Yeah, we were zooming. It's back when we were still zooming, but she was on. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 4-0. 5-0, sorry.
The issue is when liens aren't put on properties, David Griffin. He found there was $30,000 worth from the prior owner. I mean, if you don't leave properties that have these ridiculous fines, they were never gonna get. It's still not. Determine which one. Never showed up on screening.
Okay,
So you gotta leave.
next,
Makes sense.
He's going through the ones and through ordinances and finding, I mean, not. Fine, but they're the big times. George.
Our next case,
Hmm?
6H. That's 10811 Northeast 10th Avenue. Case number EEN 18-007, George Melki Mohama.
you went to P and Z this week, didn't you?
Yes,
We know the result.
yes. It was approved. So in this case, instead of asking for the lien, the intent to lien, we will ask for more time because he was just approved by PMZ and he's gonna go through more reviews, be able to get the,
And, okay, and it's still running, and then he'll
Fine
ask
is
for
still-
a fine reduction if and when it ever
Exactly.
occurs. All right.
So we'll table for next month? Do I have a second?
Well, I have a question. Why do we table it? Either he's going to get the permit, otherwise the fine still runs. So there's no need for
That's
us to
fair.
hear it until he asks for a
You're right.
fine reduction.
Right, you're right, sorry.
So we don't really, yeah, I make a motion, we take no action, let the the daily fines
Keep going.
accrue until compliance is met.
I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 5-4.
Our next case, 7E. That's 11649 Griffin Boulevard. Case number EEN 21-0737 BP Apartments LLC.
The respondent was in the office. He came with a survey. He filled out the lien reduction form and paid for it. But I informed him that the board would not listen or would not hear a case, would not hear a case that is not in compliance for reduction of lien. We did receive the money and keep that application on file until he comes into compliance. So he has submitted a survey, which we are going to schedule for the board, planning and zoning, next hearing. He wanted to come today so he could explain this himself, but he has a bereavement in the family. He lost a family member and he had to leave. So I told him I would explain to the board that we will ask for time for him to go through this process of compliance and for these fines to continue running until he comes into compliance, then he can come back and.
That's basically the number one rule. If you're not in compliance, we're not talking about fine reduction. Okay.
On another note, with the same property owner and the dumpster issue. And I know it's been brought to the attention of the village is whether we can catch the dump truck. I mean,
The one that goes through.
one that goes through the median and there's major ruts in the median there.
Believe,
I actually have them on my phone also because I hear cases. I wasn't going to report it. I do know of a resident that lives across the street that has reported it a
We
couple
did
of times.
receive the complaint and I've been out there to inspect that. Public Works did have their people out there to fix some of the things, but again, we have to see the truck, get the picture for me to be able to, I've discussed that issue with him, the respondent. The survey that he has submitted is actually to show us that he's trying to move the dumpster from where it is now to a place where the truck can get in without having to go through the median.
The truck, actually, this property has a circular drive.
It does. It's a
And
vehicle
there's no reason that the truck has
has
to
been doing
back
that.
up and in there, because all they have to do is go in
Way, way, way.
right where it's at.
Talk to him about that.
We'll tell him that the residents around there are aware and have been taking pictures.
Way,
And that we're actively,
Okay,
uh,
that's why.
they're actively,
Exactly right.
pursuing
Yes.
what can be done.
So
Sorry, if that continues, maybe, we would have to take it a notch further where he posts some kind of bond,
Exactly.
the public right of way.
Don't you remember we used to do that? We used to require a bond.
If that continues, I would definitely take that a notch up.
so he wants to, he's gonna put some kind of an enclosure on this thing?
Build up,
But we can't reduce anything until he's taken care of it.
and we have to be satisfied. We'll have to go there, inspect and make sure it's right. And definitely what Dale said is right. I've been there. I've seen the issue with the truck. I've seen pictures, and I will make sure, we do something about that if it continues.
So we were table this for the moment.
Just for the record, he has not applied to go in front of the planning and zoning board yet, so we don't have any date, just for the record. Yeah.
He did ask for June because of the bereavement. He had to leave quickly, but I will call him maybe in a week to make sure he does the paperwork to go on the June board.
But for us, the fines are still going. It's fine.
Because
Basically, we take no action.
We emailed him and we spoke to him and told him exactly what.
So what do? We gonna make a motion to table or? Okay,
Until.
I would make a motion in EEN 210737. We take no action.
I second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Fines just approved.
Yeah, they just keep going, right.
So if he doesn't do anything, they'll bring
Then-
it for us. I'll second. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I know, I lose track.
That of this.
and what kind of timeframe is that?
That's probably next
Already
month.
worked on
He
it.
doesn't- If he gets on
Remember I said only one.
it's on the next
P and Z.
Planning and design review.
third, then it might be a fine reduction, which he's already applied for, but he hasn't applied, so that we wouldn't have heard of it.
Right.
And if not, and it doesn't, the paperwork probably timely, we'll make it next month, and we'll get back and ask for us to work to place it probably.
At this point, if he's trying to,
And how long has he been out of compliance this time?
because we can't hear anything to do with fine reductions
August.
without anything in compliance.
So that's a long time.
Yep.
Hmm.
So have we done all the business part of the meeting?
Yes, that's all we had for
Since we're
tonight.
all five together, and I promise I'll make this brief. We have been hearing for so long that, and from the code officers, that the $25 administrative citation fee would meaningless be pretty much the accurate word?
It's very low,
Meaningless, but they're not an,
inflationary low, if that word exists.
not an incentive. Do we want to, as the board, encourage the commission to look into raising the fee? And if we were to do that, would you guys be willing to give us a suggestion of what you see in other cities?
But we're also not seeing courtesy notices. I mean, I had a,
Different things on admin citations, you can, but you don't.
I got hit with, somebody came by and thought they were doing me a favor to clean up some stuff and dropped 2 palm fronds at the front of my house, and I got hit with a $25 fine. And
But at any rate, they can, but they don't have to give courtesy notices. That was the point. The things that went to the courtesy notice were because they just didn't work any other way. Because if you give a courtesy, I'm sorry, the admin citation, because if you give a courtesy notice, crash out on the wrong day. Am I right, folks? You have to give X number of days to come into compliance. Well, by then it's their pickup day. So of course they're in compliance. And then they do it over and over and.
But
over.
it's one thing with the repeat offender, and it's another thing if somebody just, something happens, it's not the same as a repeat of.
That sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But again, I'm getting back to the code officers are saying the 25 is not a an incentive. Do we want to suggest another number? And if we do, what might that number be?
I got 2 questions on that. Number one is how long has it been $25?
Forever.
They probably started about 2013 with the admin citation, 2013, 2015. Bob was still on the commission,
So about 10 years?
2016.
Okay, so 8 to 10 years. And then this, the second issue that I got was with what Judy said, and kind of just thinking about what you were saying. I can see a situation where a courtesy notice to somebody like Judy, because there's a couple palm fronds, would work. And to satisfy your issue about, the repeat offenders and the garbage issue, like, for example, let's say that, the compliance officer put a courtesy notice and said, the next time this happens, you will get a fine. They make a note, they go out there, oh, they did it on Thursday too. It's still out there and it should have been, back in his garage on Wednesday. Then bang, that guy gets a fine at that point. But I think that the two can live together where there's a courtesy notice. I mean, so I'm just telling you, the way I would look at it, I think if it's been like 8 or 10 years, I think that the suggestion I would take into consideration for what you guys were saying. But at the same time, in terms of the enforcement aspect, I think there's got to be some, courtesies to residents with regard to courtesy notices of palm fronds, you left your trash can out, you parked in the median overnight, whatever, that we can have some form of record keeping where if they do it again, then they get a fine.
We could consider raising the courtesy notice. I'm sorry, I keep saying that, the admin citation fine, that still doesn't stop them from giving courtesy notices if they so choose.
I was told that they were not allowed by Efrain, who gave it to me, I believe it was, that they were not allowed to give courtesy notices.
No, that's what he did, but it's not true. We
I-
have due process. We have to give residents due process, meaning we have to warn you at least one time. If that violation occurs the next time, then we give you a warning with some time to comply, and then we watch the process.
If I had known that, I would have come to the board, but I was told that there were no big.
You should have come in front of the board.
Yeah,
Well, but how many Judys are out there that didn't know, but they were told that and they just paid the $25?
In front of the board, I would have.
Well, you would have, she didn't, but how many people would have been, I probably would have done the same thing. Well, nothing to do about it. I'm not gonna waste my time.
Thing, let's make.
But
What works.
Well, I'm just using her as an example because it's relevant.
I mean,
Judy.
The only violations that do and do a fine would be a life and safety violation, health, safety, or life and safety, like I said. Anything else, we have to give people time. Right. That's what the statute says. Chapter 1.
I wish I was told that because I would certainly, I mean, you see how I keep my property.
But again, Judy, I'm asking you.
In the code, that's what he said.
As a code board member.
I do.
And
I
when
do.
you have code officers.
You have to give them reasonable.
This no longer even covers their expenses.
I agree. I agree.
162.
And I do agree with that. But I also think that code needs to understand that not everybody's a repeat offender.
And like,
Courtesy notices can be given. When I was told courtesy notice could not be given and that they disallowed it.
the truth. Again, let me try it again.
Chapter 162.06 of the Florida statutes. We
Mm.
have to give you reasonable time to comply, or we can come and issue fines.
And it's too late. I can't get my money
The
back.
administrative notices are designed to, if there's a infraction, to give an administrative notice. I mean, every resident has been put on notice but once they're given one, an administrative citation, if they feel it's unfair or unwarranted, can come before the board to have it dismissed. There's a
Right.
period of time, what was it, 18 months?
No,
10,
admin citation, 10 days.
10 days? And that has happened on occasionally. Some of them, it was very difficult to say that to dismiss a administrative fine when there's a large stat. You know, being
Right.
ignorant is not an excuse. There were some with a couple palm fronds, and it's like, these fell from the trees, it's like, I didn't do this. It's the trees right here, and it was a little evident. So those are dismissed. Once again, like the residents who said they didn't get a notice about Airbnbs.
I got it.
They were all mailed out. I mean, we're on warning. To be honest, if I was to do an Airbnb, I didn't know it until we started hearing these cases. But having said that, I know enough not to do a darn thing without finding out if I need a permit.
Again, we're at a point where $25 does not even cover their time.
No.
No,
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, I would say, I would look definitely at that very strongly at that suggestion, but I also, I would also, and I think Doreen answered the question under, Florida statute 162 point whatever, zero something is that there's got to be time to comply. So, I mean, yeah. Judy, but not taking it personally, but if Judy had that situation, she was given the wrong information. He probably should have been given a courtesy notice. So the guy who left his trash can out probably should have given a courtesy notice and then an administrative fine if he does it again. Right? Is that the way it's supposed to work? So so who gave her that fine? Was it anybody here?
No.
Oh, it was
No.
a long time ago. Okay. So we got a new sheriff in town.
Still on the commission a long time.
Right.
Okay.
No, it wasn't that long ago. I was still doing.
A lot of jurisdictions where officers are pressured with giving numbers.
Sure.
So issue those violations, go out there and issue violations because we will need to show on our records and on our numbers that you are issuing a lot of violations. So when I came to this village, I saw that and they were doing it so much that I've had to impart to the officers and my admin that this is not how you do code compliance. We should go for quality.
Big picture,
Exactly.
big
So
picture.
there is no quota thing where there's no motivation or motivation to push to fine, right? Good. Exactly.
Just to make the city look better.
Right, right.
And that was my issue with the B house that we call it. It was compliance. And for him to say that people have been living there since 1996.
Is the average on admin citations?
Before I came.
Somebody may have been living there like in the early 2000s, no? I can't remember.
Now, I'm not advocating for something like that.
Oh, wait, I missed that part. What did you say? No,
It's $100 and
That city of Miami Beach, and I know that's a big city, it's a different kind of city, it's all commercial and it was $100. So they can look at 25 and 100 for a big city and maybe come to the middle.
Maybe 50, I mean, and see where that goes. I mean, we can always go up.
so
At least 50.
would we be willing to ask the commission just to revisit?
Yes.
$25? No specific amount per month. They revisit it because we're hearing, I wondered if you guys would have no problem with me saying this at the next commission meeting. We as a board would like to see the commission revisit the fine amount of admin citations to see does it cover expenses, et cetera. So,
Absolutely.
Well, we know it doesn't cover expenses because part of it, even if you cite one, if you're giving a courtesy notice over here and then you have to follow up the next time. Because you have to go back to verify what the courtesy notice given or how many citations have been, administrative citations have been given, as it's incrementally
Right.
increased. So without having online,
But just to say, too, and then just like they recently revisited all the permit fees, it's time to revisit the admin.
I'm in full agreement of.
Yeah, and to Dale's point, I mean, if you're given, and I believe the encouragement should be towards giving a courtesy notice, and that's gonna be more time on the admin side. So I'd be more in favor of saying, look at a $75 instead of a $50, because it is gonna be more work that you have to do. But also it should be a motivation to be like, okay, you got a courtesy notice and you don't do this again, $75.
I would rather see courtesy notice, but know that the next time there's gonna be that.
You're gonna feel it, right?
Isn't it? Versus $25.
I mean, right, Dale? I mean, because then there's more work involved, right? There's more work, there's more time, so.
More billing, more time for us to post,
Right.
it's $7 for one certified mail. So $25 doesn't go far.
Which is why I've encouraged, I've asked that y'all start to include the administrative fees when we're placing liens or when we're, coming before for a fine reduction. If
Even
it's been going on for years, things have been mailed out and staff has looked at them more than once, so there should be some type of administrative fee that is not waived. I mean, if it comes in, the fine reductions from reducing from 5,000 to 500, that is not inclusive of the admin fee that need to be paid.
The work that it takes for us to go into the system, study these cases,
Right.
to make sure we find everything that's hiding in the corners and bring a case like that takes a lot of time. So even the $2 I think they pay for fine reduction is very low. Their cities like charge $200 for a person to bring a case for fine reduction. Because it's very intense. Usually there are cases that have been there for years.
Right.
We have to go not only into the system, we have to go into old systems, new systems, we have to go into county records. So you have to sit there sometimes all day to just get one case that you want to bring for fine reduction.
But that's why I would suggest that you add in the administrative
Right. Because legally you see.
costs, because
you
with
can do
that, the fine reduction could be accepted with, if we accept the offer, in addition to paying the administrative costs, which would be like a double permit fee.
Right.
It's like a given.
Hmm.
Coming for a fine reduction, there's administrative costs. You have to pay for that if your fine is granted.
They always do that, even in traffic court. They always, you gotta get court costs
Yeah.
plus the fine, plus the driver, the driver education.
Sure, I'm not out of turn. You guys have no objection to my presenting to the commission. We would urge you to revisit the admin citation current fine, just like you've done with all the permits and things, so that the fine more reflects the actual costs involved by the city. Everybody good?
I'm good with that. But I mean, I think, I just don't want the commission to make an arbitrary number without hearing or considering what you guys are having to say.
So maybe you could get with Doreen about a cost analysis of what it actually costs to a typical, if we do a courtesy notice and then that, the cost to the village is this.
To give her more, I don't want to give her more work.
Well, but no, but if you would say it takes us 3 hours to do this, and this, you're paying us X amount of dollars per hour. I mean, then it makes sense.
I mean, it took me 3 days just to study 826, the big house. For me to go through the 11 cases and how many times has the case been to the board? It takes a lot of time.
Well, and that case also came to the commission when I was on it, and we voted to go ahead and push for him to say baloney. They have never tried to improve upon that property in all the time I've been here,
What are they doing with it? I mean, it's just sitting there rotting.
because it's an unsafe structure. It's rotting. So they're saying they want to do improvements on it, but that it's only going to cost $200,000 to bring it up.
What really floored me and really opened my eyes that I'm not seeing cooperation was that exact letter Judy's talking about, where their engineer actually did comps based on the other houses around there. Well, they're all.
They're livable houses. They said the other properties around were 600 to 800,000. So the 200,000 is only 25%, not 50% deteriorated. It's baloney.
That's ridiculous.
20 years ago. costing almost a
yeah, I
hundred.
think it's
They
four.
shouldn't be protecting nothing.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Had is because it's a trad, it's a 4 unit, it's a fourplex.
Yes.
Right. They want to repair it as a fourplex.
Right.
Because the new zoning laws do not allow
Right,
them
right,
if
right.
they
Yeah, you're right. That's
remove the
No.
build it back as a fourplex. So
So they're finding that they can't, their vision of having 4 apartments on the property has disappeared and they don't like it.
have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. You got 4 seconds. Aye.
Dale and who? Everybody.
Sell.
Dale made the motion.
Judy.
When is the, I know you guys, is this gonna be like the same? Or is this still part of that, when you guys did the thing that, guys?
No, yeah, we have, and no, not really.